A few months ago, a train crash in East Palestine, Ohio, flooded headlines across the nation. The chemicals carried on the train were the main hazard, as it may have caused extreme environmental damage. Cargo trains carrying these chemicals are on the rails every day, and it made us wonder, what chemicals do trains carry through our community? On February 3rd, a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, igniting a fire and setting off fears of an explosion. The reason for the crash was an overheated wheel bearing, and the crew was not able to respond in time. Residents in the area had to evacuate, and personnel on the scene decided to perform a controlled burn on the chemicals inside and outside the derailed cars. We interviewed Murray McBride, a soil scientist and retired professor at Cornell University. His expertise on the crash and its environmental effects helped us gain a better understanding of exactly what happened in Ohio.
The first thing that really caught my eye was the huge cloud, the black cloud, as they burned off the vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride was one of the multiple toxic chemicals found on the train in Ohio.
People saw, this black stuff on their cars, on their homes. So they knew this stuff was falling out of the air from this burn that they did. And so these chemicals then not only are toxic in the gas form when they get into the air, but then some of them escaped into, of course, the surface water there, into the streams, and they're still in the streams. I've seen little videos of people going out into these streams and sort of agitating the sediment in the stream, and you see these rainbow colors coming up to the surface of the water, meaning there's some kind of oily substance in there.
We wanted to know more about the EPA procedures and other safety procedures surrounding the crash, so we interviewed EPA agent Jocelyn Clark.
The ones that we end up going to are carrying either fuel, either it's petroleum, and so when that spills, it creates big problems, or acids, or one thing that causes the most excitement is things that are reactive.
When asked about what other chemicals trains carry, McBride shared some disturbing news.
Also, a lot of tank cars will carry chlorine compounds or chlorine gas under pressure.
One of the chemicals that can cause the most immediate problem is a chlorine car, right? If that derails near a community, because that will kill you. People have died by being too close to those derailments.
Chlorine gas was used in World War I as a gas poison to kill soldiers. So if this chlorine gas, again, if the tank car under pressure were to fail and break open somehow, like in a collision.
After a while, those are only stable for so long. And so you can get into a situation where if there's been a derailment and say the tank car isn't punctured, it's still holding its material, but it's going to explode, right? And so you've got we think we have 3 days before this stuff is going to start off-gassing, for example.
It would release chlorine gas into the atmosphere, which again could kill people within a mile or less.
Part of what's challenging for the folks who are responding to these crashes is they don't have all the information. It's not like they have time to make a really well-informed, thoughtful decision. And so they do the best they can in the moment and over a series of days, right? Those decisions about whether to burn off material or try to recover it or kind of let it seep into the environment are made over this series of days, I would say.
Chemicals, including chlorine, are carried on the rails every day. It makes us worry about our community. In urban areas, there are stricter safety regulations, and cargo trains do go slower, but it's still a danger. There are defect detectors on the sides of the rails, which make sure to notify the crew when something is wrong with the train. But the East Palestine train crash is an example of the crew not being able to respond in time. If the East Palestine train crash were to happen here, the surrounding area would be affected for miles. At the beginning of this investigation, we had a ton of questions, but now we are left with more. It's a tough look, but we must acknowledge the dangers on the rails.